I've never had a thought of before all this happened, never had a thought of raising young kids at 50+ years old. You know, that never had crossed my mind.
Barry and Beverly Abernathy had already raised 2 daughters into their teen years when their older daughter Chastity came home from work at a daycare center, excited about 2 foster children.
She came in one day talking about these children, and she said, "Daddy, the little boy," she said, "you're just not going to believe it." She said, "He's got a hand exactly like your hand." And she said, "It's exactly like yours."
Barry was born missing most of his fingers on his left hand. Still, he's a 2-time Grammy-nominated banjo player and singer with the group Appalachian Roadshow. Chastity knew the kids were struggling and pleaded with her parents to help.
I called my mom first, and I sent her a picture of Tyler, and she said, "Chastity, you're crazy." Because, I mean, I had the tendency to call her about kids before, but I was like, "Mama, this time's different. You gotta come meet them at least." And she just let it go. And I told my daddy, and he said, "You are crazy."
And I said, "Well, honey, there's no way. I mean, we're not fosters. It takes, you know, months of classes, and you gotta get educated on how to handle foster kids, and we're not even prepared."
The siblings, Tyler and Zoe, had already been through 8 different foster homes in the last 2 years. Beverly was reluctant to get emotionally involved.
I work in the court system, and I see these kind of things happen, like kids placed in foster homes and everything, and I was like, I will never get that attached. I tried to like stay away from it, keep it separate from our life.
I was really crying because I felt so strongly about it, because I'd met them, and I knew if they had met them, that they'd feel the same feeling I did. It was just a drawing towards them, both of them.
A few weeks later, Barry was leaving town for a concert. Before driving off, he felt prompted to stop by the daycare center to meet the kids.
The little boy Tyler was the first one I seen. He was in a class, and kids were out playing. He was sitting at a little bench, table-like thing with one of his friends, and my daughter Chastity had shown him me playing the Dance video of Appalachian Roadshow, where I was playing the banjo with no fingers. Well, he had never known a dad, hadn't had a dad, and he had never seen anybody with a hand like his. So he immediately, to my dismay, he immediately thought I was his dad. So he looks up, and his eyes like that, and he reaches over and he gets his little buddy and pats him on top of the head, and he said, "Hey, look, that's my dad." And he jumps up out of his chair, and he starts running to me, and he just runs, and I was standing there, and he just jumps up and grabs a hold of me. So I pulled him on up, and he grabbed me, and he grabbed my face, and he looked back like this, and he said, "Are you my dad?" And I said, I just kind of froze, you know, I didn't know what to say. And he said, "You my dad." And he reached up, he kissed me on the cheek, and he patted me, and it was touching. I mean, it was very, very touching.
Barry then found out Beverly had also felt drawn to the kids.
He called me, and he's like, I went and saw the kids, and I said, "Well, I did too." And he's like, "What do you think?" And I said, "I really don't know what to think." She
said, "Do you think we're going to need to do something?" I said, "Well, what can we do? We're not foster parents. There's nothing we can do."
Things weren't working out with the current foster family, so the Abernathys arranged to take the kids over Father's Day weekend. After a great time together, they got word Zoey and Tyler would soon be sent to an orphanage.
The state had called and said, "We're going to come get them." So immediately everybody went to jumping and saying, "Hey, can y'all keep these kids a little while we're working something out?" And we were like, "Yeah, we will." And it's amazing how something like that could happen, and in a couple of days it could come to fruition. And nobody knew but God. Nobody did.
The Abernathys went through the steps to become foster parents. Then they made a big decision. 10 months after that Father's Day weekend visit, through a Zoom court date, Tyler and Zoe were adopted and officially became part of the Abernathy family.
Yeah, baby!
Oh, it was a blast. Yeah, it was and I think the kids they recognized it. You know, even I don't know that they knew what Tyler says dachshund. He didn't know what dachshund was, but he knew that he was Abernathy.
I can't remember my life before them. There's no other way to describe it other than they belong to us.
Tyler all the time says, "Thank you, Mommy. I appreciate you." He thanks us for the house, everything. And it's just like to see the world through their eyes, the simple life. That's what it means. Nothing else matters.
Well, I'm thankful that God brought them into our lives, because, I don't know, it's just, you know that they're here for a reason. Like, when we adopted them, that morning, you could just like feel it, like the Lord was with us, and you just knew it was right.
The correlation between us and these children and God and all of his children, I've thought of that a lot. We're all adopted in the family, and not just adopted, but we're made partakers. I mean, we're partakers of life through him.
I love what Barry shared at the end, because adoption is such a picture of what God has done for us. And then I think, as I listen to their story about how God has a big idea for every one of us, but sometimes those ideas are so big, they're terrifying. And yet this family that didn't want to meet these children, didn't want to even think about interrupting their lives in their 50s, little bit at a time, because they were believers, began listening to God's big idea for them. And it was an idea so big that it encompassed other people, the other children in their family, the new children coming in, life in the future for these kids. I mean, often it's very hard for us. We get in the habit of doing what's comfortable, and it's the same. You're running around the same rut every day, and you can get pretty empty feeling that way. But I want to tell you, if you open up your heart to God's idea for your life, it'll never be boring. And I just want to encourage you to do that today. God says, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are higher than your ways. Who wants to miss out on a God idea of epic proportion just to be comfortable? Ask God what he'd have you to do. In the quiet of your own heart, just say, speak to me, I'm listening. It doesn't even have to be about adopting children into your family or becoming a part of the foster care system, though that's an amazing opportunity and a great God idea. But ask him what he'd have for you, because you are created with kingdom purposes in mind. God has that for you, and he wants to share it with you. So in your quiet time with the Lord, in the stillness of your heart, ask him to speak to you. And then, if it's an idea that's bigger than you are, you can be pretty sure it's from him. And he'll equip you with whatever you need to get the job done. Don't be afraid of a God idea. It's something that changes you, changes the people around you, and changes the world as well. So ask. If you need prayer about something you're contemplating in your own life that seems frightening or too big or scary, call our toll-free number. It's 1-800-700-7000. There's just a friend on the other end of the line who's happy to pray with you today. So call now.
So
Gordon?
Terry, what got you started? Here you have 2 children, and you make a decision to adopt.
Yeah.
What prompted that?
Well, I always had this desire. It just seemed common sense to me that if you were people who felt like God had a plan and a purpose for your life, and you had a solid life that allowed you to do that, that if there were children who needed a family and you had one and you could fit an extra bed in your house, why would you not do that? So that worked for us.
It's very practical, very Midwestern.
It was. It was a very practical thought to me, but as a compelling thought that, if you don't do it, then are you not doing something that God's ordained? So in that sense.
So you started with 1, and then what led to 2?
Well, my husband always said that those who created the dining table industry had a conspiracy, because they always came with 6 chairs and we were only 5 people. So we needed to fill that 6th chair. And so we did that and thought we were done. And then, like this couple, we were in our 50s. And
now another one.
Yeah. Well, another 3, actually.
It started off with 1.
Well, the story was of one who was willing to let her 2 sisters go to a family that could adopt 2 but not 3, so they could belong. And she would stay behind. And I thought, what kind of a child does something like that? I began to pray for them. Dangerous thing to do. And God began to speak to my heart, saying, I want you to go get them. And at 50, I said exactly what they said. Are you kidding me? I mean,
Wake up to find out you're the answer to your own prayer.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. That's the tale of it. And not an easy journey, but can I say, well worthwhile. And, I always say to my family, if it's easy, everybody do it. So.
And you didn't stop with 3.
Well, no. Well,
you had to keep going.
Yeah.
I remember you would go off to these mission trips for Orphans Promise, and I would warn you, Terry, you can't bring any of them back.
You must have been speaking to my husband, because he would say the same thing. Come back with the same people you went with. But Orphans Promise was an opportunity then to take what we felt God had called us to, and what it had allowed us to see as far as need was concerned. That, you know, one family does something and that's great, but what happens to all these other children? And so,
and there are millions.
Yes, and not every child is to be adopted, but every child is to be loved and nurtured. And so that is where Orphans Promise came from.
How many countries are you working in?
Over 60.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not all of us are called to adopt, but we can all help.
Amen.
So if you want to help with Orphans Promise, there's a real easy way. All you have to do is go to cbn.com. There's a place on the giving page where you can designate your gift to Orphans Promise. Another easy way to do it is call us, 1-800-700-7000. Just say, I want to help orphans, not just here in America, but around the world, 60 countries. It's all made possible because people like you care enough to give to say, yes, I can be a part of it. If you can't adopt, you can always support. So do it now. 1-800-700-7000. Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.